I was just thinking about, I just saw a video by Stefan Molyneux about what pisses him off about the Confederate flag, and, you know, I'm just basically reveling in the fact that, you know, yeah, you're cherishing a heritage that was a tragedy for, you know, a good part of the population. So you're basically reveling in someone else's suffering. Good job. You're a fucking indecent human being, and you should probably be, you know, put away somewhere. Jesus Christ. Anyway, this video will be briefly about our culture, and I guess, you know, it can start off pretty quickly about the fact that people are so far away from reality that they think that it's a good idea to worship practically this flag and use it as a, you know, we don't live in the Confederate States of America. Like, what the fuck are people thinking? It's just, I don't understand, I guess, the level of stupidity, you know what I mean? I don't know. It's just incredible. It's just the same as people who worship a church that has been known to have perversions of various kinds in it. You know, people stick to ideologies because they're afraid of the unknown, and the reality is that truth is the unknown. Truth is the unknown. It's something that is painful because it doesn't give certainty. The truth is so uncertain that it's something that people, if they were really confronted with it, would be more confused. You know, reality is stranger than fiction, and truth is something far more complex and sophisticated than people are prepared to be able to understand. And this is, you know, part of the reason why is because of our failed education systems, but the other reason why is because of our failed governmental and societal systems, because of their corruption, ultimately, because of the economic influence, because it's much more profitable for a very select few group of people to essentially take advantage of everyone if they're dumbed down and lied to and put in a state of survival mode so that they can't really rationally think. And so, you know, if we really had a form of culture in this society, it would cultivate the best characteristics in humanity rather than dissolve them and disintegrate our society and our culture and our, you know, civilization. We should not be living in the way that we're living. The reason that we are is because of a few dominant men and families that have interbred throughout history, and this is historically a fact, that these families have attempted to essentially create a pure, quote-unquote, bloodline, when in actual fact they've contaminated it to the point where psychopathy and, you know, very kind of grotesque deformities are the result, whether they be mental or physical. And so the result ultimately has been a basically we're going deeper and deeper into a hellish reality, and nobody seems to notice or care what the cause is. A lot of people are rallying against the symptoms of this problem, but nobody has the guts or the wherewithal to take on the source, the cause of all of this insanity. And that's something that everyone should have as their duty, their sense of responsibility to help and ameliorate these problems through creating a new culture. Buckminster Fuller said it very well and very truthfully when he said that, well, you can't go about destroying the old model. It's not practical, and it's not not really impossible to do that. You can't destroy and then replace the old model. You have to essentially build the new model and make the old model obsolete through those actions. And so that's what I'm advocating here and now, is to make the old model obsolete, whether it be our cultural model, our governmental model, our economic model, or our educational model. And what I'm advocating for is all of the above, for all of the above to be abolished essentially through making them obsolete by creating a new culture, a new education, a new government, and a new economy that all are based on the human scale and the organic, natural human existence that we have been trying to deny for over the past century or two with the very inhumane, utilitarian, and psychologically speaking, very alienated and objectified existence that we have lived in. The materialism has to be brought down, and the only way to do that is by essentially re-educating people, or de-educating them, I guess you could say, or just fundamentally changing their daily lives by instituting, or rather just popularizing a new form of adult education that I call the Pentivium. And this approach to adult education is different fundamentally from something like college or any of the various kinds of education schemes. Most of them are for making some kind of a efficient worker of some kind, or having a specialized intellectual academic sort of person as the outcome, whereas what I'm talking about is something that is simply designed to enlighten the human being and emancipate the individual from the bondage of a centralized authority. And so what is the objective goal of what we're trying to accomplish here? What kind of civilization are we trying to create? Well, let's look at what we have today. We have a competition culture based on consumption and based on the desire to really just have more than the other person, or to have rather than be. People are, generally speaking, not content to just be, they want to have, and having has overtaken the desire for being. And so this is the issue, is that culture and cultivation go hand in hand, and what we've sacrificed essentially is the idea of cultivating what could be considered enlightened human beings from our education system and from our society. And the issue is, even when there are examples of civilization that seem viable, if we don't have examples of other viable civilization models, maintaining the conditions for civilization, both interiorly and exteriorly, may be an impossibility, simply because there's a refusal by the public to acknowledge that it is a viable option. The issue is, all too often we've gotten into a controlled state of mind where there is no alternative. That's what people believe. That's their ideology, that the system is the way it is, and there's nothing you can do about it, and there's nothing that can be done about it, and so you just forget about it and just live your life and just continue in this kind of locomotive, going straight forward and no looking back kind of mentality. And this is the downfall of our current society and civilization, is that we have been duped to such a degree into thinking that there is no alternative to our present economic, socio-political system. But in fact there are, and there are very many practical solutions and alternatives to this present model, which would potentially have incredible benefits for all of humanity. But the problem is that we've been fed this fake bill of goods that there is no alternative, and people, generally speaking, are unwilling to even entertain the idea, because then it would entail that they have to actually do something. And cognitive dissonance, rationalization, and the other psychological sort of methods of, essentially to avoid conflict or to avoid any kind of real responsibility, have taken their toll. And what we have today is essentially an atheistic Satanism, culture, which says, fuck everyone else, I'm going to do me and get mine, and that's it. And this mentality is what could be described as atheistic Satanism. And I have a quote here from Nemo, the Magister of the Church of Satan, and he says, quote, "We are our own gods in the sense of taking full responsibility for our actions and placing ourselves at the dead center of being important in our universe." Now, this is a little bit more sophisticated than the popular culture mentality of Western society, but nonetheless, it is a very similar mentality, though, as I said, it's less sophisticated, it's less developed. He goes on to say that, but we do not pretend to be like Jehovah. Now, today, people essentially do take themselves to be the center of the universe and their own God, essentially. Excuse me. He also goes on to say, being our own God is an ethical statement of personal policy rather than a metaphysical statement regarding the nature of reality. What he's basically saying is they don't believe that they're actually God, but they do take that statement of being my own God to mean essentially that because there is no God, I'm going to be the first cause in my own life and take responsibility for my own actions. And this has a sensibility to it, but at the same time, what we lack in our modern culture is the notion that that this is not a metaphysical statement regarding the nature of reality. People actually internalize this as an actual reality, that they're sort of that they are essentially a God in their own reality. They may not say this, and in fact most of them will probably say that they're Christians, but in actual fact, I mean, let's face it, their mentality and their way of going about life is essentially that. They are basically an atheistic Satanist. And our culture reflects this in the way that popular commercialization and consumption have become the primary motives, the primary movers of human activity. And it's basically come to the point where we have to, look at ourselves and realize that, any society that would choose its toys over its mother, that would sacrifice the parent for the trinkets, is not worth saving. And it's not worth even existing in its current form whatsoever. Any civilization or any culture that claims to have attained civilization, yet has this sort of immature mentality, is kidding itself. It's kidding itself in such a way that it's destroying itself. And we need to come to this realization very quickly, or else we're going to mass suicide and really extinct ourselves ultimately, and for nothing more than conveniences, for God's sakes. I mean, seriously, what the hell is the matter with you people that you actually believe that these conveniences are worth sacrificing the entire human race for? Not even just the human race, but life itself. Is life itself worth sacrificing to Magog? Or Moloch, I mean. Is it worth sacrificing to the God of modernity? Should we be seriously, living this way, destroying ourselves? Essentially, it's like, these conveniences are the opiates of the masses at this point, and really, our culture is kind of a consumption culture, where malls are the church, or where the internet has become a means not of discovery and learning, but of consumption. That's the main purpose of the internet, at least in terms of our culture economically and even spiritually to a certain extent. We have sacrificed the spiritual flame for a industrial torch and for the premise of consumption, relentless cyclical consumption. And this is going to destroy our planet if we do not our planet, I mean, the planet's going to be fine, but it's going to destroy our potential to create a level 1 civilization. It's going to destroy most of the life forms on this planet. It may even destroy the ozone layer and any potential for any life to, it may end up killing essentially the planet itself the further we go into this model. And I mean, if we wait to change anything 100 years from now, it'll be far too late. We have to start changing things now. Now is the time. There is no other time for changing the system other than now. And frankly, the transformation of this country, America, into a dictatorial state, into a tyranny, is rapidly on the approach. I mean, if we aren't already there, we're on the cusp. And 90% of the population in America is ignorant to this fact. Completely ignorant. And it's our responsibility as individuals who are knowledgeable and recognize the truth to spread this knowledge, but doing so in such a way that we're not offending the sensibilities of these people, because we have to connect to them on an emotional level, because these people are not intelligent enough to have that conversation. However, they are emotional enough because they don't have the intellect at this point. They don't have the intelligence to be able to understand fully even the language that you would be speaking to them with. The best thing you can do instead is to connect with them on an emotional level through music and through art and through the fundamental cultural mediums that are, at this point, well understood. And we could be very, very capable at this point of essentially drawing out those emotional sensibilities so that we can really create an alternative society and civilization. And I think that this is an important message for us to express and to explore going forward, because if we don't, what will happen is a stagnancy in the movement, which is evident already, and a gradual decline of our own involvement as a community in the transformation of our society from a level 0 to a level 1 civilization. I hope this has been at least informative and at most transformative for you, the listener. I'm writing a book presently about all of these issues, both political, economic, educational, and cultural, and I call it Philosophia. And the book itself will be finished within, I guess, the next month, and then I'll try to get it published within the next year. But essentially what I'm communicating to you is my sort of spoken word interpretation of it. I write far more eloquently than I speak, so it's a book that not only is lucid in its expression, but it's also informative and potentially transformative in its overall message. And so I look forward to creating more videos. I haven't been able to make these videos recently because of technical issues and whatnot with YouTube and my computer and all these different things, but now that I have this figured out, I'll definitely be making way more videos. And so with that, love and appreciation, agape, peace.